Hi, good morning, Alvin.
Good morning, Dr. Ping. It's
How
such
are
a
you
pleasure to
doing?
see you as always.
Oh, same here, same here. I really enjoyed our conversation last time. And also
Yeah.
the food is pretty good there.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, it was good to meet you. It was good to see your wife as well and everything. So
right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's nice thing about living in the Carmel area. You have many choices.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. Now, Carmel's
Right,
beautiful.
right.
Carmel's
And it's
beautiful.
quite diverse in a way that there's all different kinds of uh good food, right? Italian, Chinese,
Yeah.
Indian, whatever
Yeah.
you have, there is. Right.
Yeah, no, the food here is yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, well, they did a good job also, like just in terms of the city, how city got built up.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, yeah,
Oh,
I think
Carmel's
that
beautiful. Carmel's beautiful.
yeah, the only
Uh,
complaint I have is just too many roundabouts.
I like the roundabouts. It took me like 30, 45 days to figure out how to drive it, but
Well, I guess
so
once you figure it out, yeah,
oh, I
it's
love it. You waste
yeah,
so much time sitting in traffic lights in California. This is like it's a
right.
wonderful.
It does help a lot. We have some roundabout here, but uh, like but in Carmel, it's like roundabout after roundabout after roundabout. For
Yeah,
people
I
not
know. I know some people that get stuck in that roundabout. It's actually pretty funny. So
right.
whoever's watching this, I apologize. When I first got here, you had to honk at me a few times to teach me how to ride the roundabouts.
Okay. So, um, how's things going at Carmel? I know, the Carmel School Board probably, by comparison, is the worst in terms of their attitude towards parents.
I wouldn't say they're the worst, but they're up. They're definitely up there. I know,
Of the
like
list,
some
yeah,
school district that's. But comparing worse is not the best standard, right? No, they're pretty bad. The Carmel School Board is pretty terrible,
right,
and I think a lot of parents are starting to, over the summer with the work that we've done, really I think woke a lot of parents up to realizing just how horrible and the attitude, the transparency. I mean, I think every time we do something and prove something, they would react that would actually that would actually prove our point. Like we tell
right,
them, we say, hey, they're not transparent. They don't want to listen to parents, so they shut down comments. And
right.
then we say, see, they're trying to hide something, and then they go virtual. So it's like you guys are doing us the biggest favor. It's really kind of comical. I always wondered, like their PR person's got to be terrible because this is like optics. I'm like, fire your PR person because their optics is terrible. Like you guys are literally proving us right
Right.
every time you guys make a move.
Exactly. And it does show that their attitude, towards parents, is kind of like say, how dare you guys kind of you
Yeah.
know, asking us something. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, stop asking so many questions.
Yeah. Just let us, yeah, give us your kids and
Yeah.
don't ask
You've had
questions.
your kids. You guys gave them birth. You fed them. Now they're ours. It's, sit down, shut up, go away. Let us
Right.
indoctrinate your kids.
And actually, one of the school board meetings, they actually had a police officer uh, kind of guarding the front door, right?
They
Remember that
always have
episode?
police officers there just because, security, and also because of all the noise and everything else that's going on, all the controversial things going on.
Okay.
They've always had police officers just because, Carmel is it's such a safe city. It's one of the safest cities
Right,
in
right.
the country. So the police department, they do a good job. Chief Barlow and his staff and his team are just fantastic. They're wonderful people, and they're just a great, wonderful police department. But part of one of the reasons why. And people here, right? Even parents who maybe don't agree with what we're pushing against, if they've lived here all their life or most of their life, they have no idea where this goes.
Right.
They don't understand how much of the safety and a crime-free city that they enjoy. But once you get this into the schools and things like restorative justice and critical race theory, once that gets into the child's mind, when they get older, they will push for policies that actually destroy the safety of a city. And
Right.
obviously, I've seen it over and over again in California. It's the
Yeah.
same pattern. It's nobody's fault. Criminals get off. Eventually, the city like Carmel, this all goes away real fast once you
Right.
start
Right.
indoctrinating
Yeah.
indoctrinating.
I just see a news report today. I mean, it's talking about in California that a lot of people are hiring private securities because they cannot trust the government to take care of it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I've you've heard me say a lot of times that this kind of stuff hurts minorities and poor people the most. Because
Exactly.
so if you okay, so look at it from a school standpoint. Social emotional learning destroys education, right?
Right.
Critical race theory, the LGBT agenda, all that stuff. But the people who suffer the most are not the people that can afford tutoring, right? The parents, the people who have a little more means, they'll hire tutoring to kind of make up
Right.
for some of the lack of education. But it's the Black and brown kids that you claim to help. They're the ones that suffer the most. This is why their scores always tank first. And then
Exactly.
once you leave the school and you destroy a city, who can afford security? Again, the
Right.
people who have means,
Right.
right? There's no amount of equity that you can to chase, right? There's no amount because people are always going to protect their own family first. So the
Right.
people with means have the best security system. Like you said, they hire private security. Who's going to get hurt? Of course, it's going to be the middle class, lower middle class.
Right.
And then
Yeah,
down,
I mean,
right?
we have seen this, right? In cities like in Chicago and the downtown Indianapolis.
Sure.
So the crime is always in the poor neighborhood.
Always.
It's because
Yeah.
it's because the policies they implemented.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
always.
actually good segue to talk about why you actually escaped California. I mean, California really is a nice place, nice
Oh, it's
weather
beautiful.
and all that.
Oh,
But
beautiful,
so
beautiful.
why do you escape that and and choose Carmel to settle then?
Yeah, well, I think the reason why we got out of got out of California is because for a very micro reason, the same way you and your wife got out of China,
Mhm.
communist China, same thing. My great grandfather, obviously,
Right.
much it's not as life and death yet, but it's the same reason. California has become such a horrible place to raise a family, to raise good children, that there was no way that we could stay to do that. It just wasn't. The schools were already done. The public schools were already completely overtaken, and so crime and homelessness, the unbelievable taxes. There's just so many reasons to leave California. But
Okay.
people always ask me why move to a place where you don't know anybody, because when we
Right.
landed in California, we didn't know a single soul. But
Mhm.
I always say there's a lot of reasons to leave California. But for me, the main reason is that if we were to raise my daughter there, they're going to teach her that her two most important qualities in life is that she's Asian and that she's female.
Right.
And every single ill in life that she'll ever face will be because of one or two of those things.
Mhm.
The whole culture. I'm not just talking about schools, because the schools is already done. The
Okay.
whole culture there will teach you about victimhood. Everything is victimhood. And you don't see that here in the Midwest that much yet, or Indiana that much, because it's still right. It's still in the school system right now. It's just starting in the school system, but you
Right.
start to see that span out into the communities and
Okay.
into families.
So are you saying that in California you started in the school and it got kind of spread out to the society?
Yeah, the only difference is in California, it took like 25, 30, like 30 years to kind of get there. And they started
Right.
with colleges first. And so it
Mm.
was a top-down approach. You
Right.
start indoctrinating, kids who are, 22, 23, right? And the college age, 18, 19, 20, 22, 21, 22. And then they went out and
Right.
started changing the policies and changing California. And the qualities just got lower and lower until you kind of see what it is. And then teachers started to indoctrinate kids, into like the high school. What we're seeing here that's different than California is that not only is it top down, college down, but it's now bottom up, because in California, it didn't really start with the elementary level,
Oh.
right? So it was a slower brainwashing of the
Okay. So
kids.
from high school down to middle school and push down.
Yeah,
And now
they're going right to, they go college and they go right into and the way that they deliver it today is through the social emotional learning,
right.
because that gets into the elementary school first, before anything else. So this is
Wow.
why you see such a fast spread across the country, whereas California was such a slow spread. Because
Right.
number one, they were, the people pushing this, they were trying to get it right as well. They were figuring out what worked, what doesn't, and so now that they figured out what really worked, like in California and New York, some of those places in the coast, they really for sure have perfected the delivery system into the public schools, and they're very, very efficient with it.
Right. Yeah. And also I'm amazed at how much money they have. Like there's foundations there can support their work. I mean, those people, the so-called consultants, they make a tons of money by pushing this.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a scheme. It's definitely a racket. The idea, and companies that bring in these diversity, equity, or inclusion, equity things, what I call DIE, right? DIE.
Exactly.
The DIE ideology.
Right.
Companies that bring that in, you'll never see a consultant firm go, you know what? You guys have enough DIE. You guys have enough diversity, inclusion, equity. We're done. Thank you very much. We'll close the contract.
Right.
Every consultant will go into a company, and when they're done, after a year or two, will tell you, you need more of it.
Right.
There's never been a history in these consultants, because they're grifters. This is just a big scam artist.
Right.
You'll never see them go, oh, you're good. You got enough diversity, equity. It'll be more. You need more. You need more. More work to be done. More work to be done.
Right.
You'll never. It's a scam, because it's not about that. It's about continually making people feel, making up things, making up oppression, making up racism, making up all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and also the goal they set, that's something you will never achieve, because their goal is they call it the equity. That means everybody had the same outcome. I mean, that's something you can never achieve. That we can guarantee their work. Yeah, they can do that forever. Because
I disagree. If you have socialism, you have equity. Everybody's on the bottom.
I know.
You do achieve it. You eventually achieve it.
Right. But in terms like here in America, I mean, as long as America's not turning to socialism, they can always, they always have
right. This is why they're teaching kids in school to hate America.
Right.
Because eventually, and they don't know their rights. Kids don't know their rights. So when they get older, you can't fight for rights you don't know you have or care about.
Right. And also the idea, the equity, the idea itself is very dangerous.
Oh, sure. Very dangerous, of course.
Because I mean, you and I know there's no way we can have equity.
No.
Because everybody has different amount of work, right?
Yeah.
Everybody have different family structures and friends and all that. You cannot say, okay, everybody has the same outcome. It's the only way, like just you mentioned, the only way to achieve it is through socialism.
Only way.
Everybody is poor. Yeah. Like
even children, even siblings within the same household can't achieve equity.
Right.
Think about that. Same parents, same household, same resources. They're going to get different grades, or have different friends, have different personalities. You may be more athletic, maybe you're smarter, maybe you're more outgoing, maybe you're more introverted. That changes the person's conditions in life. Right. Even siblings, if you have a house full of 5 siblings, those 5 siblings, when you follow them as an adult, they don't achieve equity. No. And that's in the same household, because that's just a human being. Some kids, they have a better work ethic, or they just there's so many and these people that push this, I wouldn't even call them idealistic. I think they're just very naive. I'm not talking about the people that push it on purpose. The people who push it on purpose are straight up evil.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? They're straight up evil. I'm talking about the well-meaning people. Like a lot of people here in the Midwest, they're so kind-hearted, they're so well-meaning. They're very naive. Very naive. They have no idea what this stuff leads to, because they've never had to deal with it here.
Exactly. And also the way they measure equity is purely by how much money you make.
Right.
And right. I mean, I don't want to make a lot of money, just work for 80 hours a week. Right. I'd rather, work like 30 hours a week and make 1/3 of money.
Sure.
So in that way, I mean, I will never get equity. It's just like it's not because I don't want to work hard. It's because I don't want to get that kind of money by sacrifice my,
Right.
my time, my family, and all that.
Right.
Same thing. So,
Oh yeah.
so the way to just use money as a measurement, I mean, how much money you make as a measurement, that is ridiculous.
Yeah, and then once they figure out money, then it's where you live, right? It's like, everyone deserves the same size house. Everybody
Right.
deserves the same everything. And that's just, and this is, but that's why that's such a racket, because they know that that's a goalpost that will never, that's a
You
goalpost
never
that will
get
never
there,
reach.
yeah.
And then that way it gives you more reasons to, charge a lot of money for your
Right,
consulting.
right,
Or this is why when we first were hiring the diversity officer, I told Beresford that, you mark my words, if you hire this diversity officer in a couple of years, she won't go to you and say, "Oh, you got enough inclusion. Good job. I'm going to resign." She's going to tell you, you need more, and then now you need to hire more diversity officers. Eventually,
Right.
you'll have an office.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened in California. And I'll tell you right now,
Oh.
if anybody watches this video in 2 or 3 years from now, all the schools here, if we don't get this cleaned up, we'll have diversity offices, not officers.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. I can see that. Yeah. And so you came to Carmel 2019,
2020.
2020. Oh wow.
I've been here
And
about a year and a half.
right. So I guess you didn't expect to have this kind of fight.
No. I know what to look for, as you know what to look for. Obviously,
Right.
we have a different, we look at it from a different perspective, because we have the benefit of a rear view mirror that a
Right.
lot of people don't have.
Yeah, you see what happened in California.
So we know what to look
yeah.
for. Yeah. So when I was looking at different school districts and cities and the policies and everything, there was a lot of cities, or there's a lot of states that I actually ruled out of moving to, because I already saw that they were going down that path.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so
Right.
when I looked at Carmel, especially the school districts, at the time when I was researching, because you have making a big move like that, you obviously have to be preparing for a year and a half.
And also that's kind of typical Asian, right?
Yeah.
You look at school district first.
School district, taxes, finance, and safety, right? Crime.
Right.
And so I didn't see any of this, because at the time it was really buried, and there's nothing I could look at online, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so it really wasn't until shortly after I got here where it started, coming up. And so yeah, I didn't expect this at all, because I honestly thought, coming here, that I wouldn't have to deal with much of this at all.
Yeah.
Or if it came that the community here is strong enough that people would push back on it. So what I failed to, looking back now, what my incorrect assumption was, that because people here have such good, strong family values, that they would push back against this when they see it.
Mm-hmm.
So the incorrect assumption that I made was twofold. Number one, I failed to remember that when you live in a place like Indiana, especially in Hamilton County, that's ran so well, Hamilton County is run so well,
right,
that the comfortability and the safety creates apathy.
Right.
I've forgotten about that. I didn't look at it that way.
Yeah,
so that was the first thing. The second thing is, people here are so kind, and they're so welcoming, and they're so accepting, that ironically, this ideology uses that very acceptance against them.
Right.
So basically, in a nutshell, they're using people's kindness to tell them that they're not kind.
Right.
So that they compromise a little bit, a little bit, and they don't push back, because someone's saying that I'm a racist or a homophobe or a transphobe. I'm not that.
Right.
I didn't think about how they could use their kindness against them, and I don't know why I didn't think that, because that's what happened to us in California. But it's just, it happened so long and so slow, so long ago, that I kind of forgot that was kind of how you start.
Right.
I just assumed that people here would fight back a lot more, and I haven't seen that for those two reasons.
Okay.
And understandably so. I mean, it's not, I get it, right? It's just a human
right.
on both counts
It,
is human nature.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when did you start to become active?
um, let's see, I moved here in April. I had about 3 or 4 months of peace.
Uh-huh.
And then I started, I mean, I didn't really intend to come out and do, and work for a group like Unify Carmel,
Right.
which is for those that are following you, Unify Carmel is the parent-led group
Right.
here
It's a
in
it's a
Carmel.
nonprofit organization.
It's a
right?
nonprofit, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just, when I saw this stuff, all I wanted to do, again, remember, I was still under the incorrect assumption.
Right.
I at the time, what I said there about those 2 incorrect assumptions, I thought that if I went to city council or if I, told people that are in leadership that, hey, you guys, this is what's happening,
Right.
that they would go, oh, wow, that's right. And they're going to start pushing back. And, I remember going to the police chief, introducing myself, letting them know, hey, these BLM groups disguised as kids. Oh, they're just kids trying to make a difference. They're not. They're BLM backed. They're funded. Like people like at the time, the Carey group, the Carmel for Racial Injustice, whatever the hell they call themselves now. And those groups that are pretends that the kids are in the front, there's a lot of coaching and backing that happens. It's the same thing. We call them splinter cells in California. There's thousands of those things. It's just kids making a difference. I knew immediately when I saw it what it was.
Right.
And they offered a bunch of demands and to see which one which one the city council or police takes, and then next year they come back with a little more demands until they move that needle forward. It's the same blueprint. It's easy to spot for someone like me.
Right.
But I warned them about that, and so that's all I wanted to do. I just figured that if I just show them, right, some examples from California that this is what's happening, that people would just naturally push back, and as I found a lot of apathy, I found a lot of fear. And this is why, for most of the summer, one of the big encouragements that we try to impart and inspire parents through Unify Carmel is to stop giving power to labels. Stop worrying about labels, because those labels are meaningless. They're just trying to silence you so you don't protect your kids.
Right. Yeah. Because the people here, like you said, they are kind. They don't want to make other people feel bad.
But ironically, they keep telling everybody how not inclusive it is. But this is one of the most open and welcoming places ever in the country.
Right.
So
exactly.
it's a scam, right? Telling people how unkind they are while taking advantage of how kind they are.
Exactly. It's definitely they are taking advantage of people's kindness.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's how things goes. I mean, like communism, Nazism.
Yeah.
At the very first, they just took advantage of people's kindness. Yeah. And so, but before you know it, once they get in power, they will show.
Yeah. They'll show
their,
you what intolerance
really
means and what real oppression.
Exactly.
And that's the irony, right? They call everybody oppressive, but when they get into power, I mean, okay, look at groups like LGBT. Look at a group like that. Look how totalitarian, look how oppressive, look how unforgiving they are. Right? BLM, all these groups that keep telling people what victims they are. When they get into power, look at how they silence people.
Right, exactly.
Right? I mean, look at the dictator style that they behave in.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just like someone not agree with them, just someone who used to be part of the group. And
if they say one little thing, that's not,
Well, you probably remember the incidents with Rowling. I think R.K. Rowling, the guy, the
author,
author of
Harry Potter,
Harry Potter. All she could say is that the gender are real. That's it.
I
mean, she was attacked from left and right. It's like so vicious. I mean,
and these groups. So let me. I'll give you an example. So let's say that you're 25 years old. Okay,
right,
25-year-old kid, and you're part of one of these leftist extremist groups, right? Whatever, pick one. Pick an acronym. Pick a group with an acronym. And let's say you're like the big activist. You're a hero, right? You say everything right. Everybody loves you. by the time that person gets to 35, because those groups don't stay the same, they get
Right.
more extreme, they get more
Right.
crazy.
More and
By
more
the
extreme.
time he gets to 35 and then he goes, oh, I don't know if that's right. He's a villain.
Right.
It doesn't matter that he dedicated 10 years of his
No,
life.
no.
Right? Like, for example, let's take the, right? Like before they're like, oh, whatever, pick gay marriage, right? I'm all about gay marriage. For gay marriage. Yeah. People should marry who they want. Okay. So people start arguing about that. But let's say someone goes, oh, I really believe in that. Okay, great. So now that person now is a hero 10 years ago.
Right.
Today, that person might have a daughter and go, hey, I don't know about guys in my daughter's sport. He now is the biggest monster, even though he supported that. And I always tell people like this. I say, look, you have to take some responsibility. If when you were younger, if you were naive and you push for things that you thought was so progressive at that time, you created the monster that now is going to come back and eat you.
Right.
And this is the problem when you start pushing these boundaries. You start pushing, it's that slippery slope, right? And so, and I've had in California, I had a number of conversations with lesbians. Really funny, right? Because, they really were pushing back against the, men and women's sports, things like that, right? They were really pushing against it. You just didn't hear from them because now the lesbians in California, they were ostracized. And I remember them coming to, like people like me having these conversations going, you know what, we gotta work together. This is terrible for all girls and women. And I, part of me do obviously have empathy for them because again, some of these girls, I mean, not lesbians, just girls in general, they work so hard in sports. They dedicated so much time, into their sport. And now they're in college and they're just getting killed, right? By these guys. But I would tell the lesbians, I'd be like, look, you guys, I empathize with you, but listen, you guys got to take some responsibility here. Right. All the trans community did was take your playbook and do it better than you. Yeah. Right. They used the same nastiness, the same, gaslighting, the same, violent language to silence people. Right. I'm like, you guys started the playbook. They just added to it. So don't come to me now and be like, oh no, now we're getting, it's like, because these groups keep moving the needle forward. Right. Right. And so, like I said, it's not that I don't feel empathy. I get it, right? They try to fight for girls, which is what they're supposed to do. I get it. Right. But I'm like, look, you guys got to take some responsibility here. Exactly. And exactly. I do definitely 100% agree with you. And you know what? Today, the people who are pushing the trans on kids today, that are you can be 8 years old and think you're a girl. I'll tell you this, one day real soon, the people that are pushing, like that are okay with 8-year-olds getting hormone blockers and getting transition, one day when pedophilia comes, when they start normalizing pedophilia, they'll go, hey, wait a minute, these are kids, you can't have sex with kids. I'm gonna tell them the same damn thing. Yeah. You guys were the stepping stone. They just came in and took it to another level. Yeah. And so, as like, people just don't, they're so myopic in their view. They don't see that these things move forward. Right. And you see that. I mean, that's what I appreciate because you see what's coming down the road. A lot of people here do not realize that. I mean, especially pedophilia. I mean, it sounds like so evil, right? But they are. In California, they already lowered the age, they closed the gap of what is a crime. So in California, they passed a law last year in 2020 that says now that if you have sex with a minor, but it's within, what is it? Within 10 years or under 10 years, you have, I don't want to quote, because I don't like to quote things that I'm not 100%, but it's either like within 8 years or something like that. I forget. They basically said that they increased the range. So basically, if you're like if you're 21 and you have sex with someone who's like 14 or something like that, is no longer statutory rape. Oh, really? But they capped it at a certain age. But again, these things move forward, right? Eventually, it's going to be, if you're 18 and they're 11, it's not statutory rape. And it's going to be 18 and 8. Right, they're going to start moving that down until it becomes pedophilia, right? That's you could have like 14 and 14 and 8, right? Yeah. So that's why I'm saying California is already, so if anybody always wants to see where the country's going, if we don't stop this at
right.
the
It's in
school level,
California.
look
Yeah.
at California. Look at the laws that they've passed.
Right.
Because they're always going to be 5 or 6, 7, 8 years, depending on where you are in the country ahead. And
Right.
so pedophilia is not a fear mongering. They're already setting the stage for it.
Wow.
They're already, they passed. Like I said, I wish I had the number in my head.
Right.
But if you look at, anybody can look it up.
Just
It's a
Google
law
it,
they
yeah.
passed in 2020 that basically, shortened or widened the gap on what statutory rape is.
Oh, wow.
And that, where that's going. Again, people
Right.
they don't think that this doesn't stop right there. It doesn't
Yeah.
stop there.
I think, well, right now what we see is books in the school library is kind of normalizing pedophilia. And that just
very much so.
kind of, yeah.
They're
just
sexually grooming kids very young.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
My organization, Unify Carmel, was a big thing. We read those books and that, we did the video
Right.
and read the books, all the books we found. And I mean, it's endless. It's absolutely endless in Carmel. These books are sexually obscene books. I mean, in the elementary level, in middle school level.
So they didn't take it out, taking off
the 6 books that we read, on that video, they took it out very quietly.
Okay.
But I mean,
there's lots more.
I mean, we've researched and we found so many books. Wow. I'm not talking about 10 or 20 or 30. I mean, we're down to 50, 60, we're up to 50, 60 books. It's endless.
Yeah.
And one of the Facebook groups that does a great job at this, that only does this, is Mary in the Library.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And for those of you who are following Dr. Ping here, just look up Mary in the Library in Facebook. Right. And it's a Facebook group that solely focuses on inappropriate books that are in Indiana and even outside Indiana, because a lot of people submit books to them. Whoever runs the group, and they put it out. So, if you're in a school district and you wonder if you have certain inappropriate books, just follow Mary in the Library. Right. Mary in the Library, and then do searches yourself. I guarantee it, you'll find a lot of these books in your school's library.
Wow. Well, at that time, your group demanded the resignation of the that's the
the curriculum director.
Yeah, the curriculum director. What happened?
Nothing. They didn't. Obviously,
okay.
I mean, we knew they weren't going to do it, because that's how they're cowards, right? They're not going to take responsibility for that. But again, we did it because now we can go back on it later and say, hey, we gave them a chance to do the right thing.
Right.
And so a lot of what we do is to set them up for something else later. We don't look at what we do as a myopic 1 + 1 = 2. What we often do, because we know they're very corrupt. We know they're very, their agenda is to push this indoctrination, the CRT, the SEL indoctrination into kids. So what we often do is to set them up for something later so that they have no deniability.
Exactly. So when you actually started your work, I mean, you get involved and wake up people, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people think you're just kind of strange.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Kind of like, right. It's kind of like they just don't see it, right? They didn't see it. They probably thought you exaggerated.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. When I first got here, before I had a bigger platform, everybody, even the people who believe me, even the people who kind of, they kind of see what I'm saying, didn't understand how devastating this is. Now, of course, now I get a lot of, oh my God, you told us this when you first got here.
Right, exactly.
And I hear a lot of that now. I hear it every week now. People come in and going, you called this. You said this was exactly what's going to happen. And that's exactly what's happening. And they just can't believe it's happened that fast.
Right.
That's what's killing them. They think when I was talking about something, they're thinking, oh, he's talking 20 years down the line.
No.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a horrible thing to be right about. I don't want to be wrong about this. This is terrible.
Right.
I want to be wrong about this.
Right. But you are in a, how to say, as a Christian, like, I believe that God put you there. So you are, I mean, like where I am, right? Just we have a purpose in life. I mean, that's
Sure.
part of, that's why we actually had the experience, right? Otherwise,
Sure.
what's the point, right? To go through
Right. Yeah.
all the tragedy and all that.
Yeah. And
And
I don't, like I said, I think every parent can do something, you
right,
know, and I don't think I'm anything other than just a regular parent like anybody else. I just come from a,
right.
a place
Why?
that
Just,
you know,
just because you see it, right? You
yeah,
experience. I
yeah.
mean, so because of that, you have the responsibility to tell, right?
There is a feeling of duty and
Right,
responsibility. Sure. Yeah.
right. Yeah, it's just like someone say if you walk, uh, you walk down the road and you see a pothole or something, then you have to do something about it, right?
Yeah.
If,
Yeah.
even if you don't feel the pothole, you at least put some marker there. Say, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
get in there. One of the things actually, uh, uh, I remember one of the uh, how to say videos you made is actually you're warning the Republicans because if they are not getting involved, then when the kids grow up, they will vote them out.
Right.
Uh, yeah, that's really, really well done. But I don't know what kind of response did you get from the Republicans, I mean, the politicians?
Well, my warning for them is there's no balance, right? Once you overtake that, there's no balance. And, these aren't the Democrats. These aren't the Bill Clinton Democrats,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're not the Bill Clinton Democrats where they
Right.
still believe in American, America first,
Right.
borders,
Right.
right? Some fiscal, I mean, fiscal responsibility can be argued about, obviously,
Right. Right.
but they still believe in law. They still believe in
Right.
punishing criminals, all the
Right.
things that we can agree on, right? No matter, I
Mm.
don't care. I'm not political at all, so I don't really give a
Right.
shit who you vote for. But the Republicans here, their response has always been, and I don't want to say that about every single Republican, that I've met here, but the great majority of them are very, they have no urgency.
Right.
And they're not very strong in dealing with things that are controversial.
Mm.
Because again, same thing like with people here, they've enjoyed too much success here. And now
Mm.
all of them are out of touch with what's happening. Like I said, not all of them, but most of them.
Most
And
of
I've
them,
met a lot of the legislators here in Indiana, and they have zero urgency as to what's happening in the schools. They say they do a lot of talking, but there's no action.
Right. Right.
And they don't, some of them don't want to know. Some of them are too afraid to step outside because they might be called racist or they might be called bigot.
Mm.
And I tell them, I said, listen, you guys, you can move as slow as you want, but I tell you, you guys are all out of a job.
Right.
Easy, because that's what they're dealing with. Because they're not putting kids out to say, let's critically look at the policies. Maybe here you vote for Democrat policies. Maybe here you vote for Republican policies. They're not doing that. This is just just a mindless one-way
Right.
political soldier.
Right.
And that's what destroyed California,
Oh,
right? Because having balance is good, right?
Right.
Having
Right.
balance in policies is good. You can't have one, right? And that's not
Right.
good.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's not what's going to happen when these kids get out. So the Republican Party here, generally speaking, are just very, very soft. And I understand because they haven't had to, fight really hard other than just amongst themselves. But now that they have real opposition here, when they have real attacks,
Right. 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 Yeah.
their way of doing things are really, really slow. And
Right.
the way the leftists push this kind of stuff, they're very fast. They execute really well. They're very, very
Right.
organized.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why they're
Like
so
you said,
overwhelmed.
yeah. I mean, they definitely have many years to, to hone their skills, right? I mean, they tried on California. They know what works.
They know, yeah. They know
Yeah.
what works and what doesn't. Yeah.
And
I
now
mean,
they have tons of money behind them. I
yeah,
mean,
like if you look
they
at
have tons of
if you look
energy.
at places like like the Castle, right? The
Right.
Castle that pushes SEL. I mean, it's funded, by the Gates Foundation, the Zuckerberg Initiative.
Right.
You've got companies like Eli Lilly, pumping a ton of money into this stuff. And yeah, they got a ton of money. They're very well organized, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And also now they also get federal money.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they
So,
are really, I mean, well organized and well funded, and
Mhm.
also they have a real energy, I mean, there are people there truly believe in this stuff.
Well,
They
when
they
you
have the
indoctrinate,
energy there.
well, they
Uh-huh.
have, you know why they have energy? Because they're always taking advantage of the youth,
Right.
right? If you're a teenager, you're a high schooler, if you're early 20s, you have nothing but energy.
Correct.
So this is why it's so critical for them to indoctrinate kids early on.
Yeah.
Because once you can get into kids that there's oppression everywhere, they will naturally want to fight against it when they get
Right.
older. That's just a
Right.
natural, you're right. Good people will naturally want to do that. So they basically destroy these young people's lives by making them political soldiers,
Yeah.
taking advantage of their youth and energy.
Right.
And the Republicans, the conservatives, they rightly so, they don't take advantage of the youth. They let
No.
kids try to be kids.
Right.
But when in that kindness, they lose generations until their own
Yeah.
kids are fighting against them.
Right. 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 Wow. And what's your next step? The school board definitely do not listen to you guys.
Mhm.
And I know some people actually pull their kids out of school.
Yeah. Mhm.
And
Two.
now
Yeah.
the Carmel Clay School District has like $2 million of
Two.
shortfall. Yeah.
It'll be double that next year.
Right.
We'll make sure it's
And
double next year.
so what the advice now to the parents?
Parents is very simple. If you can pull your kids, pull your kids.
Mhm.
Whatever sacrifices you have to make, whatever you have to change in your household to be able to pull your kids in whatever that form, homeschool, hybrid.
Right.
I wouldn't even say private school. I wouldn't even say that's my first, like encouragement, because some private schools have this
Oh
because
yeah.
if they take federal grants and money. So don't just assume if it's a private school that you guys, this is not a problem. You have to ask the right questions. So don't
Right.
basically don't go from one blindly following public school to blindly following private school, right?
You have to get involved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get involved, right? So my advice for parents, and this is not even advice, this is like, you have to do it or you lose your kids.
Mhm.
Start paying attention, start being involved in your kids' education. Don't just
Right.
throw them somewhere and be, oh, I'm done.
Yeah.
I can just hands off. You can't never hands off on your kids. You
Yeah.
have to be involved. So I would say that if you can pull your kids, pull your kids. If you can't, which is, I understand the great majority of people still cannot, you have to be very active in your kids' classroom.
Mhm.
Make sure you really know the teacher, make sure you go into the classroom library, because one of the things that we don't have access to, is that we don't know what's in the classroom library.
Okay.
We can only know what's in the school library.
Right.
So as parents, it's up to you to go in, take pictures of the classroom bookshelf, really dive into the curriculum, start, filing the requests. If you go to unifycarmel.org/blog, you have tools there to teach you how to file those reports, to try to get the curriculum. And if you don't get the answer, you got to keep at it. And I know it's a lot of work, especially when you have young kids. You're very busy, you have lives and families, and you just don't have time for this, but you have to make time for this. This is your child's mind and heart. So you have to make time for it. If you don't, you'll lose your kids to this ideology.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And do you guys have plans for like school board and all that
Yes.
for next year? Yeah.
Yes, we do. Yes.
I think that's actually, at least that's a kind of like a when you say someone is in danger, you send them to ER. So school board is kind of like a ER kind of type of approach, right? Because basically you stop the bleeding. You got the right people in the school board, which can be the people to guard, to protect the kids first. And of course, there's a lot more job to do, curriculums and all that afterwards.
There's a lot to do. And I think, I know that there's a lot of, I won't say it's a lot, but I know there are groups out there coming up with alternative education to starve the beast that is public education.
Right.
Because if you don't starve it, it's just, they're just squandering money.
Yeah.
all these trainings, all these diversity officers, all this garbage and nonsense. It's just
All right.
the money, I mean, they're already well over, up till 2019, they were already approaching 400,000 spent on Panorama. 400,000 just to do surveys
Wow.
without parental consent. And now that doesn't even include the 2001. And I know they spent a ton more in 2001 because they keep increasing the social emotional learning because the survey keeps saying
right. Keep saying you need to
so
more.
they're well over 400,000 by now. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they're approaching 500,000 just since 2018, on just surveys, right?
Wow.
Inappropriate surveys.
Right.
It's just horror. It's just all, what's your pronouns and what's your family life like? And it's just all this just invasive garbage designed to separate you from your family.
Right. So things like that, the school board can stop it, right?
The school board can stop it. Superintendents can definitely stop surveys, but Carmel won't. This is why we need to turn the school board over. Parents can opt their kids out of surveys, but depending on the school, sometimes the schools still give it.
Right.
So parents got to stay on top of it, right? You turn the survey in, or you turn the opt form in, opt them out of the SCL surveys, but you still got to talk to your kids, make sure that they're not taking those things. And then you got to get to the teachers and be like, hey, I sent them the opt-out form. You better not be giving it to them.
Well, can parents take some legal actions on that? Like say, because that's private information.
Oh, parents can definitely take legal action on that, but they got to do it's obviously time consuming and expensive to do the lawsuits, but that's your parental right. You have the right to opt them out of these things. And if they don't, they're actually breaking your parental rights. They're violating your parental rights. So that's against the law.
Yeah, because the survey goes not only asking the kids about themselves, but they're also talking about the parents and the family, right?
Yeah.
And they just like,
oh, it's so invasive. Yeah.
Right. I mean, people are complaining about Facebook and Google take our personal data. I mean, this is right there
to your family,
in your school,
right? In your school, right? Your kids.
Very, very, private stuff, right?
You're turning kids against parents. Look, right? The red guard,
right?
What's the kids? Kids turning their parents in.
Yeah, this actually kind of not just happened in China, right? Happened in the former Soviet Union, happened in Nazi Germany.
It's kids always turning their parents in. That's a playbook that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they always use the kids, use the youth. Like you said, they have nothing but energy, so they can just
this is why we protect children. This is why we protect their hearts and minds, because youth, they have energy, they got passion, but they have no experience and they're naive.
Yeah, they can be.
And they can be manipulated because there's misuse, because it's easy to manipulate children. It's easy to manipulate even young people, 22, 23, 24. Young people that are 25, 26 or under, they're the easiest people to manipulate.
Right.
Because they think they know, but they don't know. They have no life experience yet. It can't be. There's no knock on them. It's just that's just the nature of human beings.
Right. Exactly.
Haven't lived long enough to know. Have experience. So it's easy to manipulate their energy and their because they're so naive, and to kind of misuse their passion.
Right.
And this is why it was so important to protect children's minds and hearts and point them in the right direction for things that are more productive. In their life. Yeah. Maybe, start a business early because you have energy. You can take risks. If you fail at a business when you're in your 20s, so what?
Yep.
So what? Right? You literally can just bounce back. You have plenty of time to bounce back.
Right. You can always go home, right?
Right. But even if you can't, you start a business goes under, oh my God, I'm bankrupt. So what? You go live in a studio apartment. You're 24. Who cares? Right? You don't have a family. You don't have anything. So instead of pointing young people towards something productive and to learn and to fail and learn and to fail and learn, they point them instead to the social justice. And it squanders their life. It squanders their mind. It squanders their emotional health. That's why kids today, young people, have so much anxiety and fear more than any other generation before them, even though we live in the safest time in human history. Right. And the easiest time in human history.
Exactly. I mean, people kind of especially young people, they don't have much to compare. The only comparison their situation, right? Because they grew up, say, in a middle class family and all that.
Yeah.
And definitely things for a lot of young people now, things are not going well because their parents could lost job or maybe got a pay cut. And so they used to live in big house, now living in a smaller house, even though small house is still big.
The
But
poorest people in America still live
right,
better than anybody else.
exactly.
Yeah.
But they just looking at the rich people, right? That's how they
Well, they're taught to do that. And
right.
that's okay to look at rich people. But, when I was growing up, my parents obviously very poor because, right, they came to China when they were, late teens, early 20s. But when we saw someone successful, my parents didn't go, look at those people. They're the reason why we're poor.
Right.
They go, if you work hard, you can get there
You
too.
can be like that. That's the right way to look at it. Yeah.
Always, right? If
Yeah.
you look at someone successful, they're like, look, they got the same heart and same 10 fingers and same 2 feet that you do.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how they start. It's just a matter of you can get there too.
Right.
Even if you don't get there, you can get closer there, and that's already better than the situation you're in today.
You can better, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing, right. And the thing is, no matter how bad things now, still in America, if you work for it, you can still getting better, right? You still have you have a better life.
Absolutely.
But just like now, things has changed. Like you see that too. Is now the economy is no longer the same as what before. Right. Like before, you just go to college and you go work for someone, right?
Yeah, right.
Then you can get into a comfortable middle class lifestyle.
Sure.
That's no longer the case.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But on the other hand, there's tons of opportunities. You can start your own business, and you can make a lot more money than just working for someone.
You can make There's never been a less expensive time to start a business.
Yeah,
because of the internet, because of e-commerce, right? That kind of. There has never been a almost zero entry fee to start a business.
Right.
Before, you couldn't start.
You need a big capital. Yeah.
Big capital. You don't have any reach, right? There's so many things today that are free that but you got to know how to use it. You just got to hustle, right? You're still working your 15-hour days.
Oh yeah.
Right. 6-7 days a week. But it's how hard you want to work.
Right. And also it's a difference in mindset, because I think a lot of young people get I won't say indoctrination, because that's what things happen in the past, is that you work, you got paid, right? You work for an hour, maybe you got $15. But when you start as a business, you don't look at that way. You could work like 200, 1,000 hours. You had nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
You probably have to actually.
You have less than, you actually in debt.
You actually spend money into it.
You actually debt.
But then later on, you start to make profit and things will grow up. Right.
I mean, ideally, not always, but
Sometimes you
ideally,
fail, but
sometimes,
the thing is, you learn something from that. Then you start another business. You start another.
That's right.
But you have to think that way. You don't. I mean, that's, I think, in the book, like Rich Dad and Poor Dad. That is, well, that book actually helped me a lot. I don't know if you read that book, right? Rich Dad and Poor Dad.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So he was talking about his experience when he was in high school, that he and his friends working for his friend's dad, and the friend's dad said, "I'm not going to pay you. You work here, but I'm not going to pay you."
Yeah.
That is, most people won't take it, right?
No, right.
But he did.
He learned,
But because even though he didn't get paid, he learned the business.
That's
then
the
he
best
can
education.
start on business. So that's kind of mindset, I think.
The mindset, right?
People needs to think about that. Sometimes you don't look at things. If you just like wants to work for people for the rest of your life, well, of course you're going to say, okay, if I put 1 hour, you give me $20 or give me $30. But if you work for yourself, you don't look at that.
There's no limit. Okay, this is how.
I mean, you're going to spend tons of. I think this is still not just for most people, even my own family, is that when I start kind of my own business, they just don't understand it. They said that you can easily make like $30, $40 an hour. Now you make nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah,
it's investment in yourself.
Right, and so they say, how long you keep doing this, right?
Yeah.
2 months, half month, I mean, half a year, a year. You
Yeah.
really don't know.
You don't
when you
know.
get something started.
This
But
is
it's-
usually you don't see, if you're lucky, you might be out of the red in like 3-4 years if you're lucky.
Oh yeah, but I think most people haven't made that transaction yet because
no.
in the past we just like even myself teach my student is that you go study, you go to college, you make money, right?
Yeah, and so that paradigm's gone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, college, I would not, I don't recommend unless you're doing something very specific, like
Right.
medicine or something. But honestly, college is almost there's no ROI in college for kids these days. I mean,
No,
you don't,
and even worse, right? Nowadays, you go to college, they will teach you indoctrination, teach you like hate the rich,
hate the rich,
because the
hate
rich
America.
people, yeah, because
while
the
they're taking your parents' money.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they definitely benefit from a capitalist society, but
yeah,
they are trying to say, it means So now you got someone, I mean, go to college and graduate from college
with all the debt,
and there is no
good education,
no good
brainwashed,
education, and there is no
and hate America.
There is no employable skill, right?
There's no employable,
So I guess all they know is how to go, shout at people or get into
shout at people, hold a sign.
Right.
And the funny thing is and so this is one of those things where I always say that this die ideology,
right?
They always create a problem where there isn't any, so they can sell the solution. So what you just said there, right? They basically destroyed education from the K through 12 and college, most colleges. Now the kids come out, they cannot earn a living. They don't even know how to show up on time, right? Work ethic, just employability skills, right? There's no employability skills, you said.
Right.
So what do they do now? Social emotional learning. And if you haven't heard this, you'll hear it in the next year. Employability skills is now part of social emotional learning.
Right.
Oh, because kids, you know why they don't have employability skills? Because you keep shoving this crap down in their mind.
Because what they did in the past. Yeah,
right. So now they destroy what normally was good education. So that because if you have good education, you naturally have employability skills.
Right.
So they destroy that. And then now companies are going, hey, you guys send us kids with no employability skills. Now they put their bastard version of employability skills in the social emotional learning. It's just another name for social emotional learning.
Right.
And now it's employability skills.
Yeah, they always have good names. So
always have good names. Yeah. Because who's gonna be against employability skills?
Right. And the thing is, like I think you probably know that already, is that I have talked to some employers and all that, and not only the kids now don't have any employable skills, they don't even have the learning skills.
They can't. Yeah, they only know how to look at oppression. They only know how to look for oppressions in the company. You're not doing this. This is not inclusive. That's all they know how to do.
Right. So the employers can not even train them. And now they say, I show up, you better pay me.
They're paying me. Or you try to train them.
But you haven't done anything yet.
Or you try to train them. It's like, oh, this trainer doesn't look like me, so I can't learn.
Right.
Because that's what they've been taught in school.
And they'll say that, okay, that's not my learning style.
That's not my learning style. Yeah.
What's your learning style?
They don't know. Yeah. There's no learning style. Yeah.
Right. It's horrible. I mean, it's really a whole thing. They are, like you said, they are destroying the education from inside out. And but the thing is, they are doing this on purpose, right? It's not that they didn't do a good job educating the kids, because their goal is not to educate them. Their goal is to indoctrinate them, so that, I mean, if they cannot find a good job, that's even better for them.
Right. Depending on government. Yeah. Depending on the government.
Become dependency, and also can use that energy and to gain power.
Gain power, and then now they depend on government. It's a great scam. It's a great scam.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you look at their their articles and books, I mean, they talk about race, right? Then talk about power. Just only those two things: race, power, race, power. It's always about using race to get power. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. That's
thank
great,
you. I love talking to you.
Enjoying that. You mean, you definitely is my inspiration, because I heard you first, and I was say, who's that crazy guy from California? But I know one thing. I know California is what's going to happen. this down the road. So I kind of starting to follow you, and I mean, appreciate what you did in Carmel area. And unfortunately, I hope there's more um, Asian parents get involved.
Me
I
too.
mean,
Me too. Because
there
they're
is
starting to come
some
after Asian kids, high ability
right,
classes.
right,
It's not an anti-white thing, it's an anti-success thing. And
exactly,
Asians are going to start to feel the, oh, you're white adjacent.
right,
And that's how they're going to start hitting, success,
yeah,
personal responsibility, things like
yeah,
that. That's what they're going to start coming. They
right.
are
Because
coming after it. So
right, and because we destroy their narrative, right?
yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, because they say for them it's like because I'm not white, so therefore
You should,
I'm
yeah.
oppressed. And then say, okay, what happened to the Asians?
Very
Oh,
successful. Yeah. Very
right.
successful in all aspects. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
yeah, it's just,
unfortunately,
yeah.
I haven't not seen that many, especially Chinese Americans. I
No,
haven't
there's not.
seen
No,
yeah,
no. But recently in New York, there's a big Chinese American
yeah,
push because
right.
of the high ability class. But they'll come here. They'll start eliminating the thing
Yeah,
here too.
I
New
think
York is just a little ahead.
right. I think that's actually the what will wake up the
Yes,
Asian parents is
I
they
agree.
take away the AP.
Yeah,
If we take the
yeah.
AP, they'll get mad.
Okay, yeah. No, no, but that's why, yeah, no, everybody, whatever nationality you are, you got to get involved because we all share
Yeah,
that we don't want kids to be,
right.
to be like this.
Yeah,
But
and
I appreciate everything you're doing, sir. I know that you do
thank
work very
you.
hard and you're very, and I know you're running for school board. So
Right,
obviously, anything that I can do to help you, let me know.
definitely, definitely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. You
Okay.
have a good day. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Bye.